Techgladiator, your topic.
Star Wars on TV, live action TV show. What do you think?
What do I think? I think it's, I'm okay with it. It's TV, right? Like, I'm not going to reconnect my TV. TV's got to do something. They've got to innovate and find a way to keep people watching because everybody else is cutting the cord. A matter of fact, I think it was like 380 something thousand just cut off their television this year alone, which is a huge cut into those cable providers. So with Netflix and Hulu and all this, I'm sure this Star Wars thing will go out there. I think it's going to ABC right now. I'm sure it'll go to Netflix or something when the seasons are done, because I think Blacklist and what's that other show my wife likes, the Once Upon a Time, those are ABC shows and they're on Netflix. So I'm sure they'll
most ABC shows. Yeah, exactly. Most ABC shows do end up on Netflix. And I think all the Star Wars movies are going to be coming to Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. And the Star Wars Rebels, the Clone Wars animated series is already on Netflix. I think the Rebels is going to be coming on there. So it kind of makes sense because, ABC is part of Disney. Disney owns Lucasfilm. Disney owns ABC. Disney owns Marvel.
Oh, absolutely.
So Netflix is working with Marvel and everything. So it makes sense that they do that. So even if you don't have you can't watch it when it comes out, you can wait till it comes out on Netflix and watch it. The thing for me that concerns me about Star Wars, and I don't want to be too negative about TV because it's not like TV's a bad thing. I mean, like Star Trek started out on TV and it was awesome and it went to movies, but when Star Trek goes to TV, it's like that's its birthplace, that's its home, so it doesn't affect it. But for Star Wars, it's kind of different. People compare Star Trek and Star Wars a lot, but they're really two real separate things. And me and you love them both. I think you're a little bit more lean towards Star Trek, and I'm a little bit more lean towards Star Wars. But we both have a lot of love for both.
Okay.
And I say a little bit slant, just maybe slightly slanted.
Let me clarify a little bit here. When I slant a little bit more towards Star Trek, that's because Star Trek has been long-form entertainment in television shows. Star Wars never has been. And we got, in my opinion, two really bad Star Wars movies. We had The Phantom Menace, and we had Episode 2, the Attack of the Clones. Revenge of the Sith was all we needed, I felt, out of that prequel, if we needed any of it. But I do love the original trilogy. I am infatuated with the original trilogy. I would watch that regularly. But however, that's 6 hours as opposed to hundreds of hours that I've had invested in the Star Trek. So it's only fair that I say my vision is skewed there. I did like the new movie of Star Wars. And to a degree, I'm okay with a Star Wars live action television show if it's done right. The problem is that right now we live in a world where I think that the DC universe is a great example. I think the Arrow would make a great movie based off of that TV show, just like Smallville. I thought that was going to be, if you wanted to make a Superman movie, take what was going on in Smallville and make a motion picture out of it.
I wish they would have done that too.
That's what happened with Star Trek, and that's why Star Trek film have been successful, is because they believed in the television actors to make the transition over to cinematic film. And for some reason, ABC, CW, Paramount, they just don't have faith in their television actors to make that transition right now. And that is baffling to me. If you want to make a live action television show, great. Make it part of a canon continuity universe. That's fantastic. Otherwise, why even bother? You're just keeping the universes separate. That's where I'm kind of like mixed in all this. But anyway.
Yeah, I got you on that. It's like it's okay for movie actors to transition to TV, but it's hard for TV actors to transition to movies. It's almost sometimes you almost feel like the movie actor's being punished. Like, oh yeah, well we'll show you. We're gonna stick you on TV. It's like, but I mean, granted, like over the years, maybe not so much now, but in the past, movies have always had kind of just that upper higher level of quality. But because they had huger budgets, you got a TV series, they got to last like a whole season, and they got less of a budget for that whole season than one single movie. So they, it kind of hurts the quality.
I don't think that's going to happen to Star Wars here because it is Star Wars, and if anything,
Right.
Star Wars makes money on advertisement and merchandising alone. So I think Star Wars for a television series is going to have a much bigger budget than any other television series.
Yeah, but I still probably wouldn't look as good as, I don't know if did you hear that?
Wow, I've actually heard it. I've heard it crackle a few times here and there, but that's the loudest it's crackled yet. So
yeah, I hope my power doesn't get knocked out. But anyways, but it's not really so much that because they'd probably do it pretty well. Although I still have yet. I mean, there's some TV shows that kind of hold up their own production-wise to some movies and everything. A lot of TV doesn't, though. So, if they don't do it right, it could, be really horrible. But the other thing, too, is even if it's a good quality show, like good production value, the thing for me, and this is what's different from Star Trek, because like you said, Star Trek's always been long-form entertainment. Star Wars, on the other hand, for decades was just the original 3 movies until the prequels came along, and even after the prequels, it was another 10 years before we got The Force Awakens. They had some animated series and everything like that, but it's animated series.
It's not long form in the sense of actual. Everybody wants to watch production, live action,
right?
And it's
right.
Sometimes
I still have not even seen the whole Clone Wars.
Right. Sometimes the animation stuff too is too silly to even take seriously. Where the ideas are more literal and more wacky.
Right, and it's
they
like
do tackle certain issues that are good, but they're allowed to do more because they're an animated series.
Right, and it's not that I haven't wanted to watch it. I have, because from what I understand is it does explain some things that you didn't really get in the prequels and all that. But every time I try to watch it, I don't know, I just lose interest in it. So it's like, I end up doing other things. And that's what I worry about a TV show, because like for me too, I'm kind of really losing interest in TV. Like I still watch some TV here and there, but I'm like behind on so many shows just because I'd rather do other things like, play video games, for example, stream. Yeah, so it's like, so I worry too that with Star Wars, what made it special for so long, well, not the only thing that made it special, but one of the special things about it was just those 3 movies. And that was it. I mean, you had some comics and you had, starting in the, the early 90s, the Dark Horse comics, you had the novelizations that began to come out. And all that, and all those things, and that sort of was long form. But I never really caught on to those things. Even though I loved Star Wars, I guess in a way, maybe I would probably not even be, I guess, considered a Star Wars fan by some Star Wars fans, just because I didn't feel it necessary to carry on with that. Because to me, that's just, and I've said this before. To me, Star Wars, the real nitty gritty, what really is Star Wars, is the movies. To me, that's what it is. It's the movies. It's the movie experience. That's what I love about Star Wars.
But let me ask you a question.
Being a regular ongoing series, it just wouldn't be the same anymore, I think, is how I feel.
Right. If this television gets the budget, if it is presented in a special way that's canon to the universe and that's relatable to the universe, would you have a second opinion?
I'd watch it. I would watch it, and as long as it kept my interest, I'd keep watching it. As long as it kept my interest.
I do.
I mean,
I have
I
noticed
just worry that I just worry it would kind of take away from that magical feeling from yesteryear when it was.
So, are you worrying about
so much
oversaturation?
Pretty much oversaturation, yeah.
Well, we're going to get that anyway with this spin-off.
Right, with the yearly movies.
Every year. So
right.
We're pretty much getting that anyway.
I am a little.
You're. I'm not saying your worries are invalid, but I'm just saying it's.
But I feel the same way with the Marvel movies. I love the Marvel movies, but I feel like that the movies have mainstream Marvel in a way that takes away from what made them special when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, it wasn't cool to. Oh, I'm sorry. When I was a kid, it wasn't cool to read comics and be into superheroes and stuff like that. You got picked on and bullied, for liking stuff like that. But it was my special thing that was just, for me, and that allowed me to escape from what was going on and everything. I'm sorry, Stan. Go ahead.
But what I was saying is, do you really believe that? Because those stories are still there. Those characters, no matter how bad Marvel screws up the Marvel Universe right now, the classic X-Men stories that I love are still there.
Right.
Even if they're not getting translated well into movie. All this is doing is allowing more people to share in what I already love, which creates more people for me to have a conversation with it about, which is, I think, fantastic. I think it's awesome that more people are getting into it.
It is. I mean, it really is. It really is. But at the same time, I feel like it's just a little piece. It was special to me in my childhood. It was special. I didn't, and you're right. I didn't get to. There wasn't a lot of people I could talk to about comics back and then. So anytime I got a chance to talk to somebody about it, I talked their head off about it, just because it was like all held in because all the excitement and everything, but there was no one to share it with because nobody else gave a crap about it.
Well, another thing you've got to realize, and I hate to bring it up, but me and you I'm not going to say we're old because I'm only 35 here, so I don't want to say that I'm old, but I will say that we are eventually going to be old, and we've got to leave a legacy for people who follow us. What kind of legacy do we want to put? Do these franchises want to put out there? What? How are they going to?
Well, the movies are fine. I do like the movies. Oversaturation, is it a problem? Yeah, kind of. So it kind of takes away from each thing being special by having so much of it. At the same time, I would have been like on cloud nine if all the Marvel movies that were out now were out when I was a kid.
I feel you.
If they were doing that,
it's fair.
It's almost like I guess don't misunderstand me. It is good. It is good that you can actually talk to more people about it and it's more acceptable and everything. And it's something that I could only hope for when I was a kid, to be able to have people to talk about comic books with and everything and actually care. And beyond just like monetary investment, because I remember the first time I went to like a comic book convention and it was back when comic book conventions were just about selling comics and stuff, people going and selling comics, and I was looking for a particular issue of the Incredible Hulk, and it wasn't a particularly important issue. It wasn't an important issue at all. It was just like around 1990, and it was an issue from like 1979. It was just regular issue number 235, and I was looking for it because I was building up my collection of the Hulk, and I had like a 10-year, almost 15-year collection at that point. And I was missing one issue, just this regular 235, and nothing at all special about it. I just couldn't find it anywhere. And I was asking people like, where's issue 230? And people were like, what's the big deal about it? I mean, who cares about that issue? It's stupid. I'm like, I need it for my collection. That's the one issue I'm missing. And
I get what you're saying, but
and it's like a real collector would know and understand why I needed that issue.
But here's my thing about oversaturation. With Star Wars, the galaxy is so vast. There's so many stories to tell, and I think it's fantastic that it keeps going in. I don't worry about oversaturation because there are so many stories to tell. Like when they proposed the idea of, okay, we're gonna do a spin-off movie on how we obtained the plans for the Death Star. How fucking cool is that? That's an awesome story to tell that a lot of people.
Yes, I'm looking forward to Rogue
How
One.
many people said that? I wonder who these guys that were died. Oh man, I wish they'd explained that a little bit more. Wow.
Now they have explored it, like I think in some novels or comics. Actually, in the first Dark Forces game, which is basically the prequel to Jedi Knight, Kyle Katarn, who's the Jedi Knight of the Jedi Knight series, he's actually he's the guy that goes after the plans for the Death Star in the first game in Dark Forces.
What I'm getting at is with the Marvel universe, the DC universe, and Star Wars, the vastness of these universes, the hundreds of amazing characters. There are loads of stories. If you ask me, oversaturation is not a problem here. Probably undersaturation is a problem. But however, movies like Indiana Jones, where it's much more contained universe, where it revolves around one guy, one central hero, that's where I think oversaturation would be a problem if they made 100 Indiana Jones movies.
Well, compared to James Bond, though. If they do it like James Bond, release one every few years, and you get to the point where you get a new Indiana Jones, just like they replace James Bond every once in a while. Although right now I can't see anybody other than Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones at this point. But I'm sure maybe people who really liked the James Bond movies back in the beginning when it was Sean Connery, they couldn't have imagined anybody but Sean Connery being James Bond.
Right.
Sure.
I love James Bond films. You bring up a good point. It's so I guess I would be hypocritical if I said that Indiana Jones would be oversaturation. But
no, I'm just kidding.
I guess, but I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Serialized content's not that bad either.
It just depends on how they do it, and
I guess.
It could be oversaturated. That's why maybe you got to give it a break every once in a while. And for Indiana Jones, it hasn't been oversaturated really yet, because after we got the first two movies between 1981 and 1984, the third one in 1989, we didn't get the fourth one until 2006 or somewhere there, about 2006 2007. It was after episode 3, and now it's been about 10 years since that last one. So unless they start releasing Indiana Jones every year, then we might get another. Now they did have the series, the Young Indiana Jones back in the early '90s for a bit. I actually liked it. They did have Harrison Ford on one of those too.
But yeah, I get your point. Any final comments?
But on the two topics.
On this topic right here.
On this topic, even though I worry about the Star Wars series taken away from the specialness, I would definitely watch it, at least at first. If it stank, then I'd be like, ah. But I would watch it, and I would hope that it would actually keep my interest and be like, ooh, wow, I can't wait till the next episode.
Right. Hopefully it's not like Gotham is the Batman.
I like Gotham. I like Gotham.
That's a discussion maybe for another time. Controversial or sensitive subjects.
When does this take effect, by the way?
It's already in place. A lot of people losing their monetization now. Fortunately, me and you've not been hit with it yet, and I assume that it's coming around pretty soon. So, controversial or sensitive subjects and events, including subjects related to war.
Call of Duty, Battlefield.
Is this an ongoing? Well, is this an ongoing war? Like the war in the Middle East? Is this the war on Islam? Is this the war on... It's not defined.
Or is it World War II, Civil War, Revolutionary War?
You can't talk about history?
So what can you... It almost sounds like we should ask, what's okay? What can we talk about?